Why did America, the land of big dreams and even bigger buildings, stop reaching for the clouds? At one point in the history of architectural design, people constructed high-rise buildings as if they were playing Jenga. But now, not so much. It seems as if everyone has reached a consensus and said, "No thank you, we're fine with this view." So, what went wrong? Have they chickened out? Did they suddenly develop acrophobia? Or is there something more going on? Let's start with the obvious, money. Constructing a skyscraper is not like putting together plastic toys. It's more like assembling a Lego set of a building that is 100 stories tall, made of steel and glass, and capable of withstanding earthquakes and hurricanes. It's costly. As much as we would love to think that developers wake up one morning with a vision of building tall buildings all over the city, that's not the case. They're in it for the profit, and the higher you go, the more money you need, exponentially more. Imagine being a developer with a full wallet and a desire to reach the stratosphere with your latest creation. You get to the 50th floor and everything is perfect. But then, just like in a video game, the next levels are not only harder, they are significantly so. You need stronger materials, more complex shapes and structures, and technology that could put NASA to shame. And then there's the kicker. Those top floors are almost like an entirely different building from the lower levels. They are expensive, and the rent you can charge doesn't always cover the cost. It's like buying a Ferrari only to use it for grocery runs. Sure, it's cool, but is it really worth it? Back in the day when America felt ubiquitous after victory in the Second World War, people built skyscrapers for the sake of it. High-rises were the architectural equivalent of flexing in front of the mirror. But now it's much more about what is the return on this? Could we get a better profit if we went horizontal instead of vertical? So, instead of vertical desire, we have much more lateral extravagance. The sky's not the limit when there's a good financial reason to keep things grounded. Even if you've got the cash and the drive to build big, there's another hurdle: the people in City Hall. Zoning laws are the fine print of the city's physical plan, usually unexciting, sometimes obscure, and invariably in the way when someone wants to construct the next skyline landmark. For instance, consider the case of Washington, D.C. There is a law there that restricts the height of buildings to 130 feet in commercial zones and 90 feet in residential zones. Why? Because back in 1910, they decided that nothing should outdo the Capitol. It's like a never-ending game of who's the tallest, and in this game, the Capitol always wins. But it's not just in DC. In some districts in Miami, for example, buildings are limited to between 25 and 65 feet. Imagine attempting to construct a high-rise in a place where your dream tower can only rise to 6 stories. It's like being told you're free to compete in a race, but only if you wear slippers. On the plus side, the intentions behind these laws are noble. They are meant to protect the identity of a neighborhood and restrict overdevelopment. However, they do a rather effective job of killing any dreams of building skyward. If it's not money or regulations, then maybe it's something else. Have people's tastes in buildings changed? Is there a case of them no longer being interested in tall, shiny structures? Perhaps. Today, people seem to pay more attention to how a building is designed to function, rather than how tall it should be. It's like choosing a car for its fuel efficiency, not its speed. Yes, it's less flashy, but let's take a moment to appreciate that practicality is the new sexy. Consider office spaces, for example. Commercial buildings, especially business offices, have always seen skyscrapers as ideal. However, the necessity of large office buildings is no longer as important as it used to be, due to new forms of work such as remote working. Why invest in office space in a tall building when many of your employees are video conferencing from their living rooms? The pandemic only accelerated this change, and the need for massive central office space is not what it once was. It's like trying to sell flip phones in a market dominated by smartphones. The market still exists, but it's shrinking rapidly. But what about residential skyscrapers? In past years, they were the ultimate status symbol of high life, the city's version of a luxury apartment building with a private elevator. But now, even the super rich are starting to come back down to earth. The high-end condo market, which contributed significantly to the creation of many high-rises, especially in New York, is no longer as interested. Society's expectations are changing. Whereas before, people dreamed of spending millions on a flat in a high-rise building, it's no longer the same. It's as if people suddenly woke up and said, I can get a good house with a backyard in the suburbs for the same price. You might wonder where the government is in all of this. In contrast to many other nations, American skyscrapers are typically a private endeavor. In places like Dubai, the government often drives these projects, using its resources to ensure they get completed, even if they don't make economic sense. In the US, however, if you want to build tall, you're mostly on your own. No sponsor will give you a blank check just because you want to touch the sky. This is one of the reasons there are many skyscrapers in countries with less strict requirements for economic viability. In other countries, the government might see a skyscraper as something to be proud of and worth investing in, even if the return isn't high. In the US, however, the focus is on market-oriented development. If it's not going to make a profit, it's unlikely to be built, even if it might look attractive on a tourist brochure. Here's the thing, skyscrapers are awesome. There are incredible structures created by creative and innovative minds of society. But in today's world, they're not as necessary as they once were. People are no longer trying to cram as much business as possible into the smallest footprint of land. They have the means, methods, and technologies to build smarter, not necessarily taller. Then there's the design factor. American skyscrapers like the Chrysler Building or the Willis Tower, formerly known as the Sears Tower, were once icons of cool architecture. But lately, new buildings have become more utilitarian. They don't have the same visual impact. They're designed for functionality, not aesthetics. Meanwhile, places like Dubai are creating skyscrapers that are as much art as they are buildings. They're aiming for the wow factor, while the US has been focusing on the gets the job done approach. So, has America given up on skyscrapers? Well, not entirely. They'll still build them when it's feasible, when the finances justify it, when the laws permit it, and when there is a clear need. But the days of building tall just for the sake of it are over. They have turned their attention to enhancing quality of life, being more ecological, and let's face it, creating spaces that are easier to navigate. What do you think? Would you like to see more skyscrapers in American cities? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more.